Alright, let me tell you something. My name is Janice Phelps and I'm 32 years old. 3 weeks ago, I inherited $80 million from my Uncle Carlos. But that's not even the most shocking part of this story. If you're enjoying our stories, please subscribe and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Now let's continue with today's story. The most shocking part. My siblings who haven't spoken to me in 5 years suddenly showed up at my door like nothing happened. Like they didn't completely destroy my life when I needed them most. I still remember that day in 2019 when everything fell apart. I was 27, fresh out of my master's program, drowning in student loans, working 2 jobs just to survive. My apartment was this tiny studio where the heat barely worked in winter. "You're embarrassing the family," my sister Ariana had said, her voice dripping with disgust. "Moving back home at your age? Asking for money? You need to figure your life out." My brother Malik nodded along like the puppet he'd always been. "We can't keep enabling your failures, Janice. Maybe some tough love will help you grow up." Tough love. That's what they called abandoning their little sister when she needed help the most. When I begged them to co-sign a loan so I could get a decent apartment, they laughed. When I asked to borrow $500 to keep my lights on, they said no. "Family doesn't enable family," Ariana had declared with such righteousness. I learned that day what real loneliness felt like. The siblings I'd grown up protecting, sharing secrets with, suddenly treating me like I was some stranger begging on the street. But Uncle Carlos? He saw everything. The call came on a Tuesday morning while I was getting ready for work. I'd finally built myself back up. Good job, nice apartment, financial stability I'd fought tooth and nail for. No thanks to my so-called family. "Miss Phelps? This is attorney Jonathan Hayes from Hayes, Morrison and Associates. I'm calling regarding your uncle Carlos Phelps." My heart stopped. Uncle Carlos had been battling cancer for months, but we'd all hoped. "Is he?" "I'm sorry to inform you that Mr. Phelps passed away yesterday evening. However, I'm calling because you're named as the primary beneficiary in his will. Could you come to my office this afternoon?" The room spun. Uncle Carlos dead? And I was in his will? Yes, of course. What time? 2 o'clock would be perfect. And Miss Phelps? You might want to bring someone for support. This will be quite overwhelming. But I had no one to bring. My siblings had made sure of that. The law office smelled like leather and old books. Mr. Hayes, a distinguished black man in his 50s, gestured for me to sit across from his mahogany desk. "Your uncle was very specific about his wishes," he began, opening a thick folder. He left detailed letters explaining his decisions. He handed me an envelope with my name written in Uncle Carlos's familiar handwriting. My hands shook as I tore it open. "My dearest Janice," it began. "If you're reading this, I'm gone, but I want you to know how proud I am of the woman you've become. I watched you struggle. I watched your siblings turn their backs on you. I watched you rebuild yourself stronger than ever. You alone showed me what true character looks like. I hereby leave my entire estate, including all properties, investments, and liquid assets totaling approximately $80 million, to my niece Janice Denise Phelps." The words hit me like a freight train. $80 million. I couldn't breathe. Mr. Hayes continued reading. "To my other nieces and nephews, I leave this message. Money reveals character, it doesn't create it. Janice showed her character when she had nothing. You showed yours when you had everything." I burst into tears right there in that law office. Not tears of joy, tears of grief mixed with vindication. Uncle Carlos had seen everything. He'd watched my siblings abandon me and he'd made his choice accordingly. "There are conditions," Mr. Hayes said gently, handing me tissues. "Your uncle was very thorough. You cannot give more than $50,000 to any individual family member." He was quite adamant about this provision. "Why?" I asked through my tears. Mr. Hayes pulled out another letter. "He wrote this for you to read later, but I think now is appropriate." He cleared his throat and read, "I don't want them benefiting from wealth they never thought you deserved. I don't want them thinking this money makes up for how they treated you. 50,000 is enough for them to know what they lost by losing you." Uncle Carlos had thought of everything. He'd protected me even in death. The next few days were a blur of paperwork, phone calls, and the slowly sinking realization that my life had completely changed. I kept Uncle Carlos's death and my inheritance private. I needed time to process, to grieve, to figure out what came next. But secrets have a way of getting out. 2 weeks after Uncle Carlos's funeral. A funeral my siblings didn't even attend. My phone started buzzing. The first text came from Ariana. "Hey sis. I heard about Uncle Carlos. I know we haven't talked in a while, but I wanted to reach out during this difficult time. Call me back." I stared at that heart emoji like it was a foreign language. 5 years of silence, and now she wanted to reach out during my difficult time? An hour later, Malik texted, "Janice, I know things have been weird between us, but family is family. We should talk about Uncle Carlos and how to handle everything." Handle everything. He meant the money, of course. My cousin Tasha, who'd sided with them during the Great Family Divide, sent, "Girl, I heard about the inheritance. We need to celebrate. When can we get together?" Celebrate. They wanted to celebrate my uncle's death because it meant money. The texts kept coming. Suddenly, everyone remembered they had my number. Everyone remembered we were family. Everyone remembered they loved me. But I remembered too. I remembered every unanswered call when I was struggling. Every declined invitation because they were embarrassed by my situation. Every family gathering I wasn't invited to because I might ask for help. I screenshot every message and saved them. Something told me I'd need evidence of their sudden change of heart. By Friday, the texts had escalated to phone calls. Ariana left a voicemail. "Janice, sweetie, I know you're probably overwhelmed with grief, but we're family. We should be supporting each other right now. Uncle Carlos would want us all together." The audacity was breathtaking. Using Uncle Carlos's name to manipulate me when she'd barely spoken to him in years either. Saturday morning, I was enjoying my first peaceful breakfast in weeks when my doorbell rang. Through the peephole I saw them. All of them. Ariana, Malik, Tasha, even my Aunt Gloria, who'd called me irresponsible the last time we spoke. They were standing on my porch like a delegation, holding flowers and food containers, wearing their best fake smiles. I considered not answering. But something inside me, maybe Uncle Carlos's voice, told me to face this head-on. "Surprise." Ariana squealed when I opened the door, pushing past me with her arms full of what looked like grocery store flowers. "We thought you might need some family support right now." Malik followed, carrying containers of food. "We brought your favorites. Remember how much you used to love Aunt Gloria's mac and cheese?" They invaded my space like they belonged there, like the last 5 years never happened. Aunt Gloria headed straight for my kitchen, making herself at home. "This is a nice place," Tasha said, looking around with barely concealed assessment. "Uncle Carlos's money sure helped you upgrade, huh?" There was the first direct mention of the inheritance. I stood in my own living room watching these people I'd once loved rearrange my space like they owned it, and felt something cold settle in my chest. "Actually," I said quietly, "Uncle Carlos died before I got this place. I earned this myself. While you all were teaching me tough love." The room went silent. Ariana's smile flickered. "Well," she said carefully, "that's even better. Shows you really did grow up just like we hoped." Just like they hoped. As if destroying me had been some noble plan. They stayed for 3 hours. 3 hours of the most elaborate performance I'd ever witnessed. Ariana told stories about Uncle Carlos that I knew weren't true. She'd seen him maybe 5 times in the past decade. She kept touching my arm, calling me baby sister, using pet names she hadn't said since we were kids. "Remember when we used to do each other's hair before school?" she asked with tears in her eyes. "Those were such good times. I miss when we were close." Malik nodded along, adding his own fake memories. "Uncle Carlos always said you were special, Janice. He saw something in you that we were just trying to help you find it. Trying to help me find it by abandoning me." The revisionist history was incredible. Aunt Gloria kept pushing food on me. "You're too skinny, baby. You need someone to take care of you. Family should take care of family. Family should take care of family." Words I'd never heard from her when I was eating ramen noodles for dinner because I couldn't afford groceries. Tasha spent most of the visit asking subtle questions about my situation. How was I adjusting to everything? Was I handling the legal stuff okay? Did I need help managing anything? Every question was fishing for information about the inheritance. Around hour 2, Ariana made her move. "You know, Janice, I've been thinking. Maybe we should all take a family trip somewhere nice. To honor Uncle Carlos. Somewhere tropical maybe?" My treat. Her treat. With what money? The woman who'd once told me she couldn't lend me $50 was offering to pay for a tropical vacation for the whole family. That sounds expensive, I said carefully. Oh, don't worry about that, she laughed, waving her hand dismissively. We're family. Besides, I know you're probably doing well now with everything Uncle Carlos left. Everything Uncle Carlos left. Finally, some honesty. By hour 3, they'd given up on subtlety. So, Malik said, settling deeper into my couch like he planned to stay forever, have you thought about what you want to do with Uncle Carlos's money? There was the question they'd all come to ask. I looked around the room at these faces I'd once trusted, these people who'd shared my childhood, who knew all my secrets and dreams. Now they looked like strangers wearing familiar masks. What makes you think I inherited anything? I asked. They exchanged glances. Ariana laughed nervously. Well, I mean, you were always his favorite. And you've been handling all the arrangements. Plus, Tasha added, word gets around, you know? People talk. People talk. Someone had leaked information about the will. Probably someone from the lawyer's office who knew someone who knew my family. In our community, news traveled fast, especially news about money. Okay, I said slowly. Let's say hypothetically I did inherit something. What exactly are you all suggesting I do with it? Aunt Gloria leaned forward eagerly. Well, baby, family takes care of family. Your Uncle Carlos would want us all to benefit from his success. He'd want us to stick together, Ariana added. Maybe you could help Malik with his business idea. You know he's always been entrepreneurial. Malik's business idea was a food truck he'd been talking about for 3 years but never started. Suddenly it was urgent. And Tasha's been struggling with her mortgage, Ariana continued. You could help her out. Keep the house in the family. The house Tasha had bragged about buying when I was homeless, telling me it proved she made better life choices than me. What about you, Ariana? I asked. What would you need help with? She looked embarrassed for the first time all day. Well, Jason lost his job last month. And with the kids' tuition. Jason, her husband who'd called me a loser at the last family gathering I'd attended. Now he needed help from the loser. You know what's funny? I said, standing up abruptly. 5 years ago I needed help. I needed family. I was drowning and every single one of you told me to figure it out myself. The room went dead silent. I begged you, Ariana, to co-sign a loan for $500. You said family doesn't enable family. Remember that? Her face flushed. Janice, that was different. You were. I was what? Irresponsible? A disappointment? An embarrassment? My voice was rising, 5 years of buried pain exploding out of me. That's what you called me. Malik shifted uncomfortably. We were trying to help you grow. Help me grow. I screamed and they all flinched. You helped me grow by leaving me alone on Christmas? By not inviting me to family dinners? By blocking my calls when I needed someone to talk to? Aunt Gloria looked genuinely confused. Baby, we thought. You thought wrong. I cut her off. You thought I'd always be the family failure, so you wrote me off. You thought I'd never amount to anything, so you treated me like nothing. Tears were streaming down my face now, but they weren't sad tears. They were rage tears. Pure justified rage. And now, I continued, my voice dropping to a dangerous whisper, now that Uncle Carlos saw fit to leave me his fortune, suddenly I'm family again. Suddenly you love me. Suddenly you want to take care of me. I looked at each of their faces, guilty, ashamed, but still calculating. Well, here's what Uncle Carlos left me and here's what you're getting from it. Absolutely fucking nothing. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Ariana's mask finally slipped completely. Are you serious right now? She snapped, her fake sweetness evaporating. You're going to let pride ruin this family over something that happened years ago? Pride. I laughed bitterly. You think this is about pride? Look, we all make mistakes, Malik said, standing up like he was preparing for battle. But holding grudges is childish, Janice. Uncle Carlos would be disappointed in you right now. The audacity of using Uncle Carlos against me when they'd barely visited him during his illness was staggering. Actually, I said, pulling out my phone and opening the photos I'd saved, let me read you exactly what Uncle Carlos thought. I read them his final letter, every word about character and money and watching them abandon me. Their faces changed as the words sank in. That's not fair, Tasha protested. He only heard your side of things. My side of things? I stared at her in disbelief. What side? That I needed help and you refused? That's not a side, Tasha. That's just facts. Aunt Gloria tried a different approach. Baby, we were worried about you becoming dependent. Dependent on what? Support? Basic human decency from my own family. I was pacing now, energy crackling through me like electricity. I asked for help once. And you all made me feel like a criminal for it. We had our own problems. Ariana finally exploded. We couldn't just solve everyone else's. But you could solve them now, right? I interrupted. Now that there's $80 million on the table, suddenly everyone's problems are solvable. Suddenly family helps family. The number hung in the air like a bomb. They'd been guessing, but now they knew exactly how much they'd lost access to. 80 million, Malik whispered. 80 million, I confirmed. That Uncle Carlos left to me. Not us. Me. Because he watched you abandon your sister and decided you didn't deserve a dime. What happened next was pathetic. One by one, they broke down into desperate pleading. Ariana started crying first. Janice, please. I know we messed up, but we're still family. We can make this right. My kids ask about their Aunt Janice, she sobbed. They miss you. Don't punish them for our mistakes. Using her children as emotional blackmail. The same children she'd kept away from me for 5 years because their mother was embarrassed by her broke sister. Malik tried the practical approach. Think about this logically. $80 million is more money than one person could ever spend. You could help all of us and still have more than enough. We could start a family business, he continued desperately. Pool our resources, build something together. Uncle Carlos would love that. Uncle Carlos, who'd specifically structured his will to prevent exactly what Malik was suggesting. Tasha went straight to guilt. I can't believe you're being this selfish. After everything we shared growing up. After all the memories we have. Memories. Like the memory of her laughing when I got evicted. Like the memory of her telling people at church that I was going through a phase when I was literally homeless. Aunt Gloria pulled out the biggest emotional manipulation of all. Your mama's looking down from heaven and she's ashamed of you right now. She raised you better than this. That one hit different. Mama had died when I was 25, 2 years before my financial crisis. But if she'd been alive, she would have been the first one helping me. She would have been disgusted by how her family treated me. Don't you dare, I said, my voice ice cold, bring my mother into this. Mama would be ashamed, all right. Ashamed of how you treated her baby when she needed you most. I walked to my front door and opened it wide. Get out. They didn't leave quietly. This isn't over, Malik said as he stormed toward the door. We'll contest the will. We'll prove you manipulated Uncle Carlos. I laughed at his empty threat. Go ahead. I have 5 years of text messages showing exactly how much contact any of you had with Uncle Carlos. I have voicemails of him telling me how disappointed he was in this family. I have witnesses to every conversation where you called me a failure. Ariana tried one last manipulation. Fine. Keep your money. But don't come crying to us when you realize money can't buy family. You're right, I said sweetly. Money can't buy family. But apparently it can reveal who your real family is. And none of you made the cut. As they filed out, Aunt Gloria turned back. You'll regret this, baby. Money changes people, and not always for the better. Money doesn't change people, I replied, echoing Uncle Carlos's letter. It reveals who they always were. After they left, I sat in my quiet apartment and called the only person I trusted, Mr. Hayes. They showed up, I told him. I figured they would. How do you feel? Free, I said and meant it. Uncle Carlos was right about everything. There's something else you should know, Mr. Hayes said carefully. Your uncle left additional instructions in a sealed envelope. I was told to give it to you after your family made contact. What kind of instructions? He predicted exactly what would happen. He wrote detailed accounts of each family member and why he chose to exclude them. He also left you something else, evidence. Evidence of what? Phone calls, Janice. Your uncle recorded phone calls from your siblings over the years. Conversations where they mocked your situation, laughed about your struggles, made bets about whether you'd make it. My blood ran cold. They hadn't just abandoned me. They'd been entertained by my suffering. There's more, Mr. Hayes continued. He also documented every time he offered to help them over the years, And every time they refused because they didn't want to be associated with family charity cases. The hypocrisy was complete. Within a week, word spread through our community about the inheritance and the family drama. In our close-knit world, gossip traveled faster than wildfire, and this story had everything: money, betrayal, family dysfunction, and justice. My phone buzzed with messages from extended family members, family friends, even neighbors who'd watched everything unfold over the years. "Girl, it's about time," texted my cousin Carlos, named after Uncle Carlos. "I remember when they wouldn't even let you come to Christmas dinner." Mrs. Johnson from down the street called, "Baby, I'm so proud of you. I watched how they treated you and it broke my heart. Your uncle was a wise man." Even my old college roommate reached out. "I saw your sister's Facebook post about family loyalty. The comments are not going her way." I looked up Ariana's post. She'd written a vague message about money changing people and staying true to family values. The comments were brutal. "Girl, where was this energy when your sister was struggling? Family values? You mean like abandoning your sister when she needed help? The audacity to post about loyalty after what you did is incredible." The community had watched everything. They remembered. They'd seen how my siblings treated me and they weren't buying the victim act now. But the most important validation came from an unexpected source: Uncle Carlos's friends from his investment club. Mr. Williams called me personally. "Your uncle talked about you all the time, baby girl. He was so proud of how you rebuilt yourself. He was also heartbroken about how your family treated you. He made the right choice. He used to say you were the only one who called just to check on him," added Mrs. Patterson, another club member. "Your siblings only called when they needed something." These people had known Uncle Carlos for decades. They'd watched him agonize over his decision. They'd advised him on the will structure. They knew the truth about my family's character. Their validation meant everything. 6 months later, I'm living a completely different life. Not because of the money, though financial security is incredible, but because I finally understand my worth. I established the Carlos Williams Foundation, focusing on helping young people who've been abandoned by their families. Uncle Carlos would love knowing his money is helping others who faced what I faced. I bought a beautiful house with a garden, something I'd dreamed about during those dark days in my studio apartment. I travel now. I've gone back to school. I'm writing a book about resilience and chosen family. My siblings still try to reach out occasionally. Last month, Ariana sent a Christmas card with a long note about healing family wounds. I threw it away without reading the whole thing. Malik started a GoFundMe for his food truck, posting about how family betrayal had cost him his startup capital. It raised $37 before he deleted it. Tasha lost her house anyway. Apparently, the financial problems went deeper than just the mortgage. She posted on social media about fake family and money corrupting people. The irony was lost on her. But here's the thing that Uncle Carlos understood: I don't hate them anymore. I don't wish bad things for them. I've moved beyond them entirely. I have a chosen family now. People who supported me when I had nothing. People who celebrate my success without asking for a cut. People who love me for who I am, not what I can do for them. Last week, I got a letter from a young woman whose family disowned her for being gay. She'd read about my story online and wanted to know how I rebuilt after family rejection. "The question isn't how to get them back," I wrote her. "The question is how to build something better without them." That's Uncle Carlos's real gift to me. Not just the money, but the freedom to choose who deserves a place in my life. And my siblings? They chose to exclude themselves long before Uncle Carlos made it official. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well without the people who never believed you could. I can't shake the feeling that maybe I could have handled this differently. But honestly, what else was I supposed to do? Am I missing something obvious here?